12 o'clock, good evening, and welcome back to LJ News. That year the Queen spoke of her sorrow. Many of you will know, only too well from your own experience, the grief that follows the death of a much-loved father, mother, or sister. Mine were very much part of my life and always gave me their support and encouragement, she said. The events threatened to overshadow the Queen's Golden Jubilee, which celebrated her 50 years on the throne. But there were large-scale celebrations, which Elizabeth credited with tempering her sadness, and her popularity surged again. Despite the occasional call to step aside for Prince Charles, Elizabeth remained steadfastly on the throne. Though a stickler for tradition, she showed quiet signs of softening, and in 2005 sanctioned Charles' marriage to his longtime lover, divorcee Camilla Parker-Bowles. To a whole generation of children, the Queen was much more than a formidable public figure. Her official title was Elizabeth II, by the grace of God of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and of her other realms and territories Queen, head of the Commonwealth, defender of the faith. But to her four children, she was simply Mama. Charles has early memories of Elizabeth balancing motherhood and the monarchy. As a 4-year-old, he watched his young mother practicing wearing the heavy St. Edward's crown ahead of her coronation. I remember my mama coming up when we were being bathed as children, wearing the crown. It was quite funny practicing, he told the BBC in 2012. The Queen mellowed further with the arrival of her grandchildren. She often joked with Prince Harry and was credited by William with helping him through the loss of his mother and preparing him to one day be king. I think in the Queen, I have extraordinary example of somebody who's done an enormous amount of good, and she's probably the best role model I could have in front of me, he told the BBC. To another, much younger royal, the Queen was simply Gan. Prince William's wife Catherine painted a picture of Elizabeth as a darling great-grandmother. George calls her Gan. She always leaves a little gift or something in their room when we go and stay, and that just shows her love for the family, she revealed in 2016. After the turmoil and scandal of the 1990s, the next generation of royals ushered in a brief era of relative stability. As with royal weddings in years past, William and Catherine's marriage in 2011 was a boon for the monarchy, returning the family to the front pages as it worked to find a new relevance in the modern era. William's brother Harry married Meghan Markle in 2018 in a ceremony which also helped cement their status as 21st century celebrities. But after stirring the monarchy to calmer waters, the Queen soon found herself in a squall. 2 primetime television interviews threatened to sink the royal family. The first involved her favourite son Prince Andrew and his association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. When the former financier was found dead in his jail cell in 2019, their connection could no longer be ignored. Prince Andrew invited the BBC to Buckingham Palace, perhaps with the Queen's knowledge, in an ill-fated attempt to clear his name. Over 49 excruciating minutes, the bumbling Duke denied knowledge of Epstein's crimes, claimed he was physiologically incapable of sweating, and failed to express sympathy for the victims. While he was forced to step back from his duties after the calamitous interview, it was not until 3 years later that the Queen finally stripped him of his beloved HRH title. But Andrew was not the only member of the House of Windsor to retreat. The inclusion of Meghan in an aging white institution with a long history of inflicting colonial pain on the world was an opportunity quickly squandered. A year into their marriage, she and Harry announced they were stepping back as senior royals. As the couple fled first to Canada and then Meghan's hometown of Los Angeles, the British tabloids were apoplectic. Meghan, always cast as an angry black woman, was accused of making her sister-in-law cry before her wedding, demanding certain tiaras from the family collection, enduring to text her employees before 9 a.m. A tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey soon followed, during which Meghan revealed that the relentless bullying by the tabloids and the royal family's apathy to her plight left her suicidal. Both Harry and Meghan stressed that the Queen had been nothing but kind to them. But in the end, a monarch's kindness was not enough to keep them in the confines of an ancient institution. Their children, Archie and Lilibet, the first biracial royals born into the House of Windsor, are growing up far away from their family's kingdom. Like all great love stories, the long union between a sovereign and her prince wasn't always easy. In 1954, an Australian news crew preparing to film the visiting couple was astonished to see Phil flee their bungalow, followed by a hail of tennis rackets and shoes. Ever the diplomat, the young queen convinced them to stay quiet about the marshal's spat they had just witnessed. They were dogged by rumors of infidelity and resentment, something Prince Philip always denied. However, he did make one admission. Tolerance is the one essential ingredient in any happy marriage. You can take it from me, the Queen has the quality of tolerance in abundance, he said. Every marriage is a foreign country with only two citizens familiar with its language, customs, and topography. Whatever happened between them, they were bound by love and duty. Elizabeth was his queen, but also the woman to whom he lovingly bestowed the pet name Cabbage. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic unleashed disease and uncertainty across the planet. But for the aging couple celebrating their platinum anniversary, the crisis brought an unforeseen gift. It allowed their world to become small again. Their marriage began in relative privacy and simplicity on the island of Malta, and it ended at their favorite home, Windsor Castle. As his life drew to a close, the prince sat in a chair in the sunshine with a blanket over his knees and his love by his side. He died in April 2021, just a few months shy of his 100th birthday. The Queen, wearing a face mask to protect against COVID, sat alone in a pew of St. George's Chapel. At that moment, she was not a monarch, but simply a grieving widow saying her final farewell. The years tumbled like precious gems from a jewelry box. In 2012, the Queen celebrated her Diamond Jubilee with more than 1 million people taking to the mall in front of Buckingham Palace. 5 years later, Elizabeth marked her Sapphire Jubilee, the only British monarch in history to do so. By the time she reached her Platinum Jubilee in 2022, she was an aging queen no longer capable of standing for great lengths of time. As her mobility issues increased, she began to retreat from public view, allowing her hairs to slowly take her place. It was an appropriately austere goodbye from a woman who remained something of a mystery for nearly a century. She was with us through the Cuban Missile Crisis, the moon landing, the demise of Apartheid, the fall of Tyrannies, and the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. And yet, we hardly knew her. There was no wall higher than the one around the privacy of the Queen, who shied away from the spotlight and rarely gave interviews to the press. We knew little of her personal life. She shunned grandeur in favor of simpler pleasures and found joy in the great outdoors. She was said to have felt the most free when at Balmoral Castle in the Scottish Highlands, where she could retreat, though not escape entirely, from the pressures of the monarchy. She was scrupulous about keeping her views private, and stayed above the fray of politics, but had a generous human touch and a direct relationship with other people. Queen Elizabeth too met, if only briefly, millions across the globe. She answered at least 3.5 million items of correspondence and sent at least 100,000 telegrams to centenarians. She amassed a legion of fans and carved out a place in pop culture. A source of strength and inspiration, many saw Elizabeth as the mother or grandmother of the Commonwealth. She was, in many ways, a blank canvas onto which people projected their ideals of happiness and hope, patriotism and pride. As the world changed around her, the Queen combined tradition and progress and, in the words of Prince William, managed to get the family to move with the times. Elizabeth supported ending the rule on male primogeniture and the ban on her successors marrying a Catholic. Under her watch, the royal family cut costs and moved closer to the people than ever before. Change has become a constant, managing it has become an expanding discipline. The way we embrace it defines our future, she said in 2002. The reign of her namesake, Elizabeth I, was known as England's golden age for its decades of peace and prosperity. As the world exits its second Elizabethan era, it is too early to say how it will be remembered. It features moments of great joy and stability, but there was also despair and pain. Through it all, the little girl who was never meant to rule held true to the promise she made as a young princess. Thank you all for watching this video, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next article.